And welcome to Sports Bet Daily, Tuesday, the 23rd of April. We're running through 4 sports today. Going to start with the Indian Premier League. Ed Hawkins will join us. World Championship, Snooker. Obviously, Ronnie O'Sullivan knocked out, so we're going to discuss that as well. The Hassan Trophy, and finally some NHL playoff bets there from Adam Booth. So another action-packed show for you guys today. Hopefully some winning bets as well. But let's bring on our first guest here, Ed Hawkins at Cricket Betting. If you'd like to give him a follow, writes all our cricket content for us here at Odds Market. And we'll be as well continuing as well with the World Cup. But Ed Hawkins, welcome to the show. How are you doing? We're over halfway through now of the Indian Premier League. How's it going?
Yes, I'm still watching every game. So it feels quite good to be halfway through. Because you feel like you've kind of broken the back of it now.
Yep.
And also, I think it's getting into that period of IPL where the wheat has been sorted from the chaff. Teams have stopped sort of mucking about, taking their foot off the gas, and it's now down to serious business. And I think we pretty much know the teams inside out now, and we know their strengths and weaknesses, and we can bet with a bit more confidence coming up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I have to say that you're looking a little bit more refreshed. You're looking a little bit tired. So are there fewer matches as we obviously draw closer? Is that why it is? You've got less ones to watch.
Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe I'd had a heavy weekend. I don't know what you mean, Natalie. I mean,
you look very refreshed.
I thought I was looking okay, but no, I think the matches continue thick and fast, and we're still getting 2 games on a Saturday and 2 games on a Sunday. So there's no respite for me. Maybe I've been using moisturizer or something, which is making me look a bit fresher for you. So I'll continue to do that. But in the meantime, I think we've got quite a good game coming up tomorrow with Royal Challengers Bangalore against Kings 11 Punjab. I think there's a good bet there for us to get involved with. Royal Challengers Bangalore have won their last 2 matches. So as tends to happen with Bangalore, because of the types of players they've got in their team, people like Virat Kohli, who's an absolute superstar, and Marcus Stoinis, the muscle-bound Australian. The market tends to like a muscle-bound Australian all-rounder for some reason. And people like Moeen Ali, basically big name players. AB de Villiers is another one who, of course, you'll have read about on the cricket page on the website, because we've got a player profile about AB. These are all big name players, and they sell Brill cream and hair gel and deodorant. So because of that, people, they recognise them, they're household names. Bangalore tend to be shorter than they should be in the market. I'm not saying they're poor players. Of course, they are great players, but they are shorter in the market than they should be. And one of the golden rules of betting on IPL, since its inception, all those years ago, 8-9 years ago, however long ago it was, my brain's fried about all these matches we have to get through. It's a golden rule never to bet Bangalore at odds on, and Bangalore are going off odds on against Kings 11 for this game tomorrow, and it's the red alerts are going off all over the place, Natalie. It's a really great betting opportunity to get against Bangalore when they are this kind of price.
Okay.
I think Bet365 and William Hill are going as short as 1.73, which is a truly dreadful price at this stage of the tournament for a team that has won 3 times. Just try to explain that to me for a second. How does a team go 1.73 when they've won 3 times all season? In what sport does that make any sense?
Well, because I'm looking at to finish bottom, and Kings Punjab is 3.5. They do have the shortest odds there, and then Rajasthan Royals is 3.75. Does that have something to play with it? They've obviously sort of pegged them as the weakest in the tournament right now. Is that
if you can get 3.75 on Rajasthan Royals to finish bottom, I would suggest you take that, and then if it's still around, maybe sell some furniture and take a bit more, sell some hi-fi, sell a TV. I think Rajasthan will finish bottom of this league. and I think they'll finish bottom by some way, because we're now getting into this period where the World Cup players are going to be leaving, and the England players are going to be leaving imminently. I think Moeen Ali will almost certainly play his last game for Bangalore in that game against Kings 11 Punjab tomorrow. I'm actually even surprised he's playing, because I thought he'd be back on a plane by now. But Rajasthan will lose Ben Stokes, they'll lose Jofra Archer, and Jos Buttler has already gone back. That is essentially the spine of their team. Jofra Archer is their top wicket taker, although he was before their last game. I think he's one behind now, Shreyas Gopal. So he's their best bowler. Yeah. So he's gone. And Jos Buttler is their top tournament run scorer. He's gone. And Ben Stokes has been disappointing, but he's kind of a reliable face around to have about the place, and people will take confidence from him being there. I just don't see how Rajasthan are going to cope with those three players going. They don't have the resources.
Is that allowed though? They start the competition,
so I think they'll finish bottom.
And they're basically now sort of jumping ship to go and focus on the World Cup. So it's like, look, I've done my bit now. You guys continue and win and do what you can. Us top players now will depart.
Yeah, see you later. And they just don't have the talent to come in to replace those players. There's a finite pool of players that they can dip into, and a lot of the players who are available have been picked up elsewhere because teams have been planning for this eventuality. The recruitment by Rajasthan is truly appalling. Why they've got themselves into a position where, at the business end of the tournament, just when they really need to start winning games, they're losing half their team. It's crazy. Eventually, Steve Smith will leave, and he's their captain, and he's just been installed as the captain. They've decided to sack Rahane halfway through, and Steve Smith will go before the last group game. So even if they made the playoffs, which just seems impossible to me, they'd then have to go back to the old captain that they sacked, or have another captain, which would mean they'd have three captains in a season.
Yeah,
they're basically chaotic, and they don't seem to know what they're doing, Natalie. So that price you mentioned about them finishing bottom is a really great price. That is a great price.
There we go, 3.5. And Hawkins was joking about selling your TV, because remember, you bet with what you can afford to lose. If you don't really like watching TV, then by all means, sell your TV. TV is not your thing. All right, and also very quickly, and then we'll get to a few match picks as well. But the Chennai Super Kings 3.25, Mumbai Indians 4, and the Delhi Capitals 4.33. Then goes to the Hyderabad Sunrisers at 8.5. So based on the odds, it kind of looks like a 3-horse race. Would you say that's correct, or are we sticking with our favourites, which is Chennai Super Kings?
Yeah, I think Chennai Super Kings is still the strongest team in the tournament. I say this every time we talk, don't I, Natalie?
Yeah.
I think since we last spoke, they actually lost 2 in a row. They got back on home soil today, and they won pretty comfortably against Sunrisers Hyderabad. So look, they're going to qualify for the playoffs. They're probably going to win the league. They're so strong. They don't even seem to be, at full tilt most of the time. It's so easy for them. They started off so slowly today against Sunrisers Hyderabad. I thought they were just not interested in putting their foot down, but they got up and they won comfortably again. They really tied down the Sunrisers batting when it looked like they were going to get 200. They're just the best team in the tournament. They're the most consistent. They seem to be able to win from any sort of position. If they're not in the final, I'll sell my TV.
Right. And is it Chennai Super Kings that have impressed you the most, or another team so far that have impressed you the most in the last week since we last spoke?
Well, I mean, Chennai just came back with such an easy win when they were under pressure today. I know they put themselves under that pressure, but teams seem to be falling over themselves not to qualify at the moment, and Chennai just keep punching on. Mumbai Indians, you mentioned second favourites there, really inconsistent and difficult to trust. Delhi Capitals, I've got major issues with Delhi Capitals. I know they're second in the league. It looks like they're going to qualify, but I just don't know how they're managing it because they can't bat. Every time they play, they get themselves into a terrible state when they're trying to chase a target. They're so unreliable. It's great for in-running strategy because Delhi are always going to give you a chance in a chase if you've gone against them. So that's good. But I can't see Delhi winning it because they're just so inconsistent with the bat. And there's four teams going through for the playoffs. Chennai are sorted. Mumbai will make it. Delhi will probably make it. And then it's between Sunrisers and Kings 11, I think, because Kolkata Knight Riders have just fallen off a cliff. They've lost 5 in a row. And if you've been following the match previews day in, day out, every time we talk about Kolkata, we say the same thing. They are a one-man team. We saw through the matrix very, very early on.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Andre Russell, they would be bottom. They probably won twice. So Kolkata are not to be worried about in terms of a playoff race, I don't think.
Interesting. All right. So tomorrow we've got RCB versus Kings Punjab. So low price there. So you're saying fade RCB at the 1.8.
Yeah, 1.8 is a terrible price. You never bet RCB when they're odds on. You only go with them if they're odds against. Kings 11 are about 2.1 with pretty much anyone you like. Betfair, Ladbrokes, Coral, Betfred, Betway. I think.
Yeah.
2.1 would be my pick here for Kings 11. They're a little bit inconsistent. They win a game, they lose a game. They win a game, they lose a game. They've won 5, they've lost 5. Sometimes they struggle getting the right 11 on a pitch. They tend to only pick 5 bowlers, which can be costly when they come up against a strong batting side. And although that is what RCB are, we know that they can be terribly unreliable in the field. They are always going around the park for runs.
Mm-hmm.
They lose their heads in pressure situations. At the death of an innings, they're conceding more runs than anybody else. And they're almost certainly over-reliant on Virat Kohli with the bat, I think.
Yeah.
They're just an awful price.
So, but you're basically just saying that it's just a good price, and that's why you're taking. Are there any other markets that you're looking at, like top bowler, top batsman, anything like that for that match?
Not really, because I'm so strong on Kings 11,
okay,
or I'm so strong against RCB. I just know it's just such an awful price. So we don't really need to go looking elsewhere, trying to find edges, trying to squeeze ourselves into an edge when we've got a solid bet slapping us in the face saying, take me. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. It's betting 101, I think, this one,
okay.
Natalie. If the first rule of betting is don't sell your TV and only bet with money that you can afford to lose, the second rule of betting is to take on RCB when they're 1.73 or 1.8.
There we go. Now, obviously, that was the main match that we wanted to focus on. We do obviously have a few odds out for any other matches. Any early leans? I know you really sort of go day by day, but any early leans right now? Obviously, Kolkata Knights super low there, 1.67. Chennai Super Kings on Friday, 1.8 against Mumbai Indians. Any other sort of like early leans for these matches?
Well, the Kolkata game is really interesting because they're playing Rajasthan Royals. And as we talked about earlier, I'm expecting them to be without basically their 3 best players. So, or certainly their 2 best players, and then a floater who could do something really extraordinary. So in Ben Stokes. So I think Rajasthan Royals are really going to struggle in that game. I know Kolkata have lost 5 in a row and they're hugely reliant on Andre Russell. I don't think Kolkata are good enough to make the playoffs, but I also don't think they're poor enough to lose 6 in a row. The problem with the Kolkata bet is the price is 1.6, 1.63, 1.65 I'm seeing. So that's not great. We don't really want to be betting Kolkata at those odds considering their run of form. But look, in running strategy, if you can get 1.8. And I'd be pretty surprised if you don't get 1.8 Kolkata in that game, particularly if they chase. Particularly if they chase in that game, they're a really great chasing team. I would expect Kolkata to win that match just because of Rajasthan are a really poor side, and they're going to be even poorer without their best players. But look for that 1.8 in running.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, quickly, before I let you go, World Cup. I know you've started to write some team previews. They're releasing the teams for the World Cup. Who's looking good right now of the team lists that you have seen? Is there anybody that you think could? What about England? Do you think England could win it?
I don't like England. England are too short in the betting. I think England have got major issues with their bowling. You can't win a World Cup if you can't bowl, or you can't bowl consistently well. And for me, that is a major flaw with England. England are the best batting side there's probably ever been in ODI cricket.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to get to the later stages of the tournament because of that. But can you win a high quality tournament when you can only basically do one suit? And we talk about this in franchise 2020 cricket all the time. There have been loads and loads of brilliant batting sides in 2020, and often they win the league or they finish second and they're short favourites.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about Hobart Hurricanes in the Big Bash. They're a great batting side, but they don't get up to win the tournament overall, because eventually it is bowlers which win you tournaments.
Yes.
And England don't have a great bowling lineup. And when you see the squads which are being released at the moment, England pale into insignificance against some of these bowling units. Australia have got a better bowling unit. Pakistan have got a better bowling unit. South Africa, Pakistan, New Zealand, they've all got these terrific pace units which can knock teams over. And England are in a real state of panic about it. If you've been following the cricket page on our site, you'll have read about them leaving out Jofra Archer, the Rajasthan Royals player who we talk about, of their World Cup squad, but he's expected to come back in once he's basically impressed in some warm-up games. They're so desperate to get him in because they know they've got a massive hole to fill in their bowling, because Liam Plunkett's form has basically fallen off a cliff. And West Indies earlier this year drew with England in a one-day series, and England should not be drawing against West Indies.
Nope.
In a one-day series. They're poles apart in terms of ability, and it was a real wake-up call for England, and they're just poor favourites for me at the moment.
Yes, there we go. If you'd like to start reading some of the team lists, head on over to oddsmarket.com /tips/cricket and start reading those articles there from Ed Hawkins. Ed Hawkins, a pleasure. I'll see you next Tuesday. Best of luck with your cricket bets.
I hope I look better for you.
Give them a follow at Cricket Betting on Twitter. Thank you very much, Ed.
Cheers.
All right. So next guest is Craig Edwards. Edwards Tips _. We're going to start talking about a World Championship. First, Ronnie O'Sullivan knocked out in the first round. The biggest shock in Crucible history. Can you believe? Here to tell us more about it is Craig Edwards. Craig, welcome. Good to see you. How are you doing?
Yes, all good. Yeah, I'm in shock myself from the results at the Crucible so far, but mainly that one.
You did say. Sorry, yeah, you did say that he struggled at the Crucible. I think it was but we weren't expecting this sort of a struggle.
I think it must be playing at the back of his mind now. He's had such a perfect season. I thought he was going there in the best shape possible, and he's got his psychiatrist, and he's able to commit to the process of winning. He's had trouble staying focused for 17 days, and what I mean by that is he will have bad sessions and he will start to make excuses in his mind. You could see yesterday within, pretty much from the second frame onwards, his brain had gone. He'd looked frazzled. I don't know whether it was the pressure of playing the amateur. He struggled to show him any respect and just commit to the process of beating him. And of course, the more table time that James Cahill got, the better he played, the more he relaxed, and the vice versa went on to Ronnie. And I think he's just in a pressure trap at the Crucible now. 5 in 26 years now, that's a poor return. it's probably the only records he's not going to break. He's not going to break Stephen Hendry's most world champions. You'd be amazed. I would say his best chance of winning the World Championship is not to play the full season prior and to go there fresh, which he did twice. But that's a bit extreme. And it's obviously been playing in the back of his mind because pretty quickly he looked gone. Today he started well and then played a couple of are wrong shots, and he continued to go for them. And he did say, I mean, I don't know whether it's an excuse or, whatever you think about it, he did say he was feeling poorly and tired. But only 3 days previous on Twitter, he was saying he's a keep fit fanatic. He does a lot of jogging. He does a lot of healthy cooking. And the last thing you expect from Ronnie is to be struggling with his fitness. But I suppose if you've caught a bug, anyone can be having an off day.
Yeah, very true indeed. The question, the thing is obviously it's really affected the outrights and obviously sort of blown it quite wide open. So who now is in the running?
Well, I think it affects the minds of the next favourites in the betting, and the next one was Judd Trump. He's had a nightmare afternoon against a dangerous qualifier, Thetchir and Nur, and he looks like he's on his way out tomorrow. So that's going to heap the pressure then on Neil Robertson. And although I was thinking Neil Robertson's going to win comfortably, he can't help but be affected by this. And Sean Murphy, a previous champion, I mean, hopefully Neil Robertson's professional enough not to let it play in the back of his mind, but Judd Trump already has done. I'll be very surprised if Judd Trump turns the momentum tomorrow. He looked in a bad place himself, the same as Ronnie did. Basically, now Ronnie's out, any one of the top players can win this. And I guess really being a favourite is almost a poison chalice with the expectations of the media over here with it. Someone like Sean Murphy coming off a poor season. I mean, I've been impressed with some of the players coming off a poor season. I mean, it's been quite an expensive week for me because I've backed against them. Mark Williams, John Higgins, Ding Junhui. They've all played to how you expect them to play over the years, but all season they've been poor. They've been their worst seasons. Sean Murphy, a perfect example of it. He's had a nightmare season, but he made 4 centuries. And going back to the Crucible Theatre, it is something of a time capsule for previous champions, like the Masters was for Tiger Woods. That when they step out there, immediately they relax, they feel the atmosphere. It's a very special place for snooker players to play. Mm-hmm. And you could see it with Ding Junhui. He's had a bad season. He's not a previous champion, but he has gone deep in the World Championship. And I watched his match. I was over there on Sunday, and he's hitting the ball well. I was really impressed with all the old champions. So the marathon of 17 days might be against John Higgins. I would say Mark Williams, but he won it last year and they reached the final. But once they start playing well, they are very difficult to beat. So it is wide open. The pressure is on all the favourites now. People like John Higgins, Sean Murphy, Mark Williams will be quite enjoying it because they're probably feeling like they're playing better than they've played all season. They love the venue. And at the moment, the World Championship is probably Neil Robertson's to lose.
Okay.
At the moment. I don't know, what betting have you got there in front of you for him, Natalie?
Yeah, pardon?
Have you got a price for Neil Robertson?
Well, I'm just looking actually because some of these prices have not updated and still include Ronnie O'Sullivan. So, for example, World Championship winner right now. So it's Robertson that's the favourite, 4.33. Mark Selby 7.5. Jude Trump 8.5, and Ding Junhui at 15. But it's still actually one market is not updated because it says name the finalists. Neil Robertson and Ronnie O'Sullivan, but obviously he's not going to be in the final. Yes, you don't want to be
having that bet, do you?
No.
It's Mark Selby comes into the equation. He was 5-1 down, won 3 times here, had a bad season. the one good side of having a bad season is you're fresh, you're keen, and you're still hungry. People like Robertson, Ronnie, Trump, they can all be a bit fatigued over the top because there is only so many. Snooker's such a hand-to-eye coordination sport. Fractions play such a difference that you can only really have so many peak days. And although you probably can't, the viewer can't see it, sometimes the players are actually struggling, in comparison to their best games. So, it's looking wide open. It really is. You could almost, James Cahill was 22-1 to beat Ronnie O'Sullivan in a 2-horse race. Thepchir was 6-1 to beat Judd Trump today. And suddenly, from a World Championship, normally favourites win. It's almost favouring the underdog now because, they've got the pressure of the favourites.
Yeah. Tomorrow, obviously, we've got. We're just pulling up the odds here. Obviously, we've got three matches. We've got two obviously heavy favourites here: Barry Hawkins and Kieran Wilson, 1.33 and 1.27 respectively. But Jack Lewinsky, 1.85 against Ali Carter. If you are going for a favourite there, any of those that you're looking at to place bets on?
Well, I've liked Jack Lisowski all season, and I do think he's got the absolute class in his game to break through at the Crucible. He does it easily, he wins frames quickly, it takes nothing out of him. And he has got a very tough match with Ali Carter. There is no getting away from that. But he equipped himself well last year. He beat Stuart Bingham as a qualifier. As long as he gets on top of Ali Carter and doesn't let the game get close, I expect him to beat Ali Carter. And he's an interesting name in the draw because he makes other players feel a little bit inferior on the table because he's so talented. I'm interested in Jack Lisowski, but he's got the toughest first round match to get through. And the other matches tomorrow, I think Kieran Wilson will beat Scott Donaldson. Scott Donaldson had a real tough time qualifying. He must be exhausted. He reached the semi-finals in China. He is playing well, and Kieran Wilson has had equipment difficulties. So if the fatigue doesn't get to Scott Donaldson and he stayed with him in the early part of the match, he could perhaps get there at the end. But you've got to favour Kieran Wilson. Barry Hawkins, the other seed, is a great Crucible player, but he's coming here in pretty poor form. Again, we've just talked about them players that play well here and have come here in poor form. He's another one of them. He's never won it here, but he's been runner-up on several occasions, and he reached the semi-final last year. He should get through. Li Hang didn't play great in the qualifiers by his standards, although he is a good player. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays better. I think you've got to favour the favourites tomorrow. I'm saying that, but not many's won in the last 2 days.
Well, that's the thing. So Lisowski, obviously 1.85, but like I said, Hawkins and Wilson, 1.33 and 1.27 respectively. Is there anything that we can bet on that actually has a bit more value than that, or would you combine them as a double?
No, I'd go for Lisowski to win probably with an alternative handicap. If you had chance to go -2.5, possibly, I think you get probably 2-1 above. If Jack Lisowski wins, I expect him to win quite easy. So it'll be 10-7 downwards. You could go with the alternative handicaps to try and find a better price. As regards the others, no, there's not a great deal of value. I can't really imagine Barry Hawkins and Kieran Wilson will play their game, and so for me, I would be looking at Jack Lisowski -2.5, possibly even -3.5. Okay. You could perhaps do the both. Or if you want to be safe, you could back him on the money line at 1.85, 1.86, and I like his chances to beat Ali Carter. I suppose the only thing is that with all these surprises, both players will be half fancying winning the tournament, because Ali Carter's been to the final twice. He beat Ronnie O'Sullivan here last year, so it is a tough draw. I mean, it's quite possible that the winner of Jack Lisowski or Ali Carter could actually make the final.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so right now as well, and then obviously we've got a few matches taking place Thursday and Friday as well. For somebody wanting to pull the trigger, including like the outright bets right now, what would you advise our viewers?
From the outright point of view, I would probably be considering Mark Williams again as the defending champion. I didn't really give him much chance coming here, but I was really impressed how he played first match. He's such a laid-back character. Dave Gilbert's an impressive player, but you can't fancy him to beat Mark Williams in the last 16. So I think probably Mark Williams from the top half would give people a run for the money each way. What price is he on the? I think he'll be about 14 to 1 at a guess. I think you've got to also give Stuart Bingham a little chance as well. He's a previous winner. And if you really wanted to be brave, you could give Sean Murphy. The Sean Murphy match with Neil Robertson is a massive match, because although I think Neil Robertson, on all known form this season, should put Sean Murphy under too much pressure and he'll break, there is the factor now that we're running out. Judd Trump loses tomorrow. Neil Robertson will then shorten up to about 2 to 1 favourite, 5 to 2. And in which case, with that pressure, he may come apart if Sean Murphy plays well. So you could take that opportunity at a big price. Because if Sean Murphy was to beat Neil Robertson, it would mean he's playing well, and it would mean he's playing well enough to probably make the final. So it's a wide open event now. It really is. It's if you'd looked at it when we were speaking 2 weeks ago, you thought that it couldn't be anyone but O'Sullivan, Trump, and Robertson. But in truth, Trump will probably lose tomorrow. I think he'll do well to turn it around. It's a big test for him. And if he loses, with all the pressure going on Robertson and the fatigue that Robertson must be feeling from recent non-stop winning, it will be wide open. I mean, it's just basically anyone can win it then. Anyone that's left in. I mean, I suppose you've got James Cahill. I mean, who knows how good he is? And he will get a lot of confidence from winning that match. Now, usually they tend to bounce and lose next match, because Stephen Maguire will be delighted to be playing James Cahill and not Ronnie O'Sullivan. Obviously, he will be delighted. But there is the other factor that the young lad may just buy into the atmosphere and just go with the flow and just let the pressure tell on his opponents. That's it really is. It's really flummoxed me this first week, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's great for watching, but if you're having a bet, just keep your bet small and enjoy, what is a great world championship, and is more an interesting world championship than we expected, I think.
Yeah. All right. So, and then on the match bets here, Lisowski at either the 1.85 or give an alternative handicap there, maybe like a -2, -2.5, I think. So that's something to take as well. All right. We are now going to move over to, whilst we have got Craig Edwards here, it's Edwards Tips _ as well. He posts you post your tips and everything as well on his Twitter handle. So do give him a follow there, Edwards Tips _ so the Hassan Trophy there. What's the history of the tournament?
Well, the Prince, he made the event to honour his dad, who was the king, and it's named in honour of the king. And it goes back to about 1971. It started as an exhibition tournament, and they used to invite all the top American pros over, like Lee Trevino, Payne Stewart, some of the winners. You got all sorts that played there, and it was a mixed event. They also had the ladies playing, so it was a small select field for years. And I think basically the Prince used to get his checkbook out, and they all used to go over some appearance money, and then it ceased about 10 years ago, and the European tours revived the event, and it's been running 9 years now on the European tour, and it's not one of the higher profile events on the European Tour. It's quite a down week for golf this week. In America, you've got the doubles event, which is just impossible to bet on. You would be guessing. And so this is kind of not one of the premier European Tour events, but it is a premier course. The course is the most difficult on the European Tour. There's never been a winning score better than 8 under, I think, or 7 under. So it is a remarkably tough test of all the golfers' skills, and particularly around the greens. It's got a lot of undulating greens, short game, ability to scramble is massive. So, it gives a good foothold for a young player's career. If they can win here and prove they can win here, they can go on to good things, definitely. And so you've got a lot of potential younger players from the European Tour. You've got a couple of the old Ryder Cuppers, Andy Sullivan and Victor Dubisson, David Howell. But in general, it's you're looking for all the promising players coming through. Although obviously some of the experienced players have some great records here. I mean, Francesco Molinari, his brother, was champion here a couple of years ago, Eduardo, and he always plays well here, as do all the Italians. I mean, I've tipped a couple of the Italians, as you'll see on my odds market preview. Miglosi, he won 2 starts ago on what I think will be quite a similar test in Kenya. And for some reason, the bookmakers still have him at 175 to 1 2 weeks later. He's a young lad from Italy. He's used to winning all his junior tournaments, and it's his debut at the course, but Italians have such a strong record. Andre Pavin was third here last year, which set his career going, and he went on to win again later in the season in the Czech Masters. So it's very much a stepping stone for the promising young players. And I've got a couple of other Italians I didn't tip, but I mentioned Paratore, Bertasio, and they have a very strong hand of players this week, the Italians, in Morocco. It's quite an interesting betting heat, I must say. I do quite like it as a betting heat this week.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you could, who are the biggest names taking part? And of those, who does the course suit best?
Who are the big? Well, Josh Luiten is the biggest name from the Netherlands. He's the favourite. It does suit him. As you know, I'm not really one for favourites, so at 16 to 1, I tended to overlook him, but he will probably be in the top 10. You can expect him to play very well. It got Erik van Rooyen, a South African, played very well in the British Open last year. At one point, it looked like he was going to win the British Open. And he's a young South African off the Sunshine Tour. He's not won on the European Tour yet, but you've got to think that win will come very soon. So he's a player that's played well here a couple of times, in really good form. He looks a perfect fit. His game is so solid. He looks a perfect fit. Spaniard Nacho Elvira. He's a young player again. He's not won on the European Tour, but he's been placed so many times in the top 5 or 6. He's due to win. They're both a little bit short from a win point of view, in about 28 to 1, for my liking, because they've never won. But it wouldn't surprise me if one of them won. They're very high in the markets. I prefer to go down a bit to the Northern Irishman, Paul Dunne, that has won the British Masters, proven winner. second here 2 years ago, lost the playoff to Eduardo Molinari. He had a bad last year. He was favourite here, and he had a nightmare, missed the cut. But the week before, I can't remember off the top of my head now where he played, but he'd had a really tough week. I think he'd finished second in the playoff or something like that. So sometimes when that happens, a player has a real kind of a bit of a letdown the week after because they're still disappointed and they're probably not as focused as they normally would be. So, but he comes in really good form this year, and he's 4 times the price of what he was last year, which is balmy.
Yeah.
He's just been out to play on the USPGA Tour. I think it was the event near you in Mexico, the Punta Cana. He finished in the top 20 there, which is quite a good performance, and played well on the Australian swing earlier in the year. He really is quite a global golfer, and he could give people a really good run for the money at 40 or 50 to 1, definitely.
All right. It's interesting as well, you're saying that you don't like backing the favourite there at odds of 17. Those are pretty big odds. So the question is obviously right now, how are you playing the Hassan 2 Trophy in terms of betting?
Right. Okay, well, we've got Pavan in each way. Otiagi is a Spaniard, Adrian Otiagi. Got a little off the pace form in here, so we know that the course will suit him. And he's started to learn how to win in the last 2 or 3 years. And often when he hits form, you can find him finishing in the first 3. And he was 80 to 1 at the start of the week, so that was an easy pick for me. I really like that bet. And Andre Pavin has been a little bit sketchy since winning the Czech Masters, but back to a place he broke through last year. Good performance last time out at the Indian Open, although it's been a few weeks off now on the European Tour. So him with the other Italian, Miglosi, I like. He's a real big price. You 150 to 1 plus 175s if you're lucky. Nice each way bet because he's the sort of player that.
Sorry and what are you doing? You're literally putting 1 unit on this. And when you say like each way, obviously there's options like in what each way, like to finish top 10, top 5.
Well, if you depends with bookmaker. Paddy Power often do 8 places, 5th of the odds, 8 places. So if you got 100 and say 150 to 1 for argument's sake, you would get 30 to 1 for the top 8 places as your place part, and then you would get the 150 as your win part. So just for 1 unit on each. If your guy got in the top 8, you'd get 30 units back for argument's sake. So Miglosi is, you should shop around and open as many bookmaker accounts as you can, really, because Coral do 7 places, Betfred do 7 places, and it gives people and some choice.
Do 10 as well, don't they? I was seeing. I don't know particularly. Well, hang on a second. Here I've got top 20 finish.
Yeah, you can do top 20s. I mean, you can have. That's the beauty of golf. You don't have to back the tournament winner to make a nice profit. So I put up Van Rooyen in a top 10 finish at 33 to 10. That's the beauty of golf. If you find the right market, the right place market, you can have top 5, top 10, top 20.
Yeah.
You can have a winning week, and your golfer doesn't even have to win the tournament.
All right, great stuff. Anything else to add here before we bring this segment to the end, Craig?
No, not really. It's just a low-key week on the golf this week, really. But it is quite a good betting heat. I would encourage people to, it's those are when you find the best value, because the bookmakers really, if you go to the US Masters, the bookmakers can see the prices and it makes their job easy. This week they're a little bit slack, and you can punish them really for like the price on the Italian at 175 to 1. Well, it's insane. Really.
Yeah. All right, sure it is. Do check out Craig Edwards' article over at oddsmarket.com. Details some of his picks as well for the Hassan 2 Trophy. Craig Edwards, thank you very much for joining us, and I'll check in with you soon.
Okay, Natalie, take care. Have a good
All
night.
right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, final segment here is the NHL playoffs with Adam Booth waiting the line. He joined us yesterday for some esports Dota 2 betting. Hope you jumped on that. But here he is today, NHL betting. Welcome, Adam Booth.
Hello, Natalie.
You're eliminated and echoey.
I know. I tried to get a bit more lighting because the bulb went in on this side, and it's kind of glaring off my face there. Is that a bit better?
It is a little bit better. Yes, I like your top. I'm gonna say, hey, I'm just passing on a message here.
But it's actually my little brother's. He doesn't know I brought it with me to England at the moment, so hopefully he doesn't see this segment. I took it about 5 years ago, though, so hopefully he doesn't care at this point.
He's going to be like, that's where it is. Well, listen, NHL playoffs, and it is quite exciting time. 3 huge Game 7 clashes. Very exciting indeed.
Yeah, so we briefly talked about it yesterday when I think it was Ergo-tastic or something asked what my leans were.
Right.
Game sevens are a sort of hockey fan's dream and hockey bettor's nightmare. I don't want to say nightmare in the sense you can't take a side, but it's never something you go into with a lot of confidence. Even home teams, the win percentage for home teams is just a bit above about 55%. So it's not even like home ice is a huge advantage. We can start briefly with the Vegas Golden Knights versus San Jose series. Mm-hmm. Vegas was 3-1 up in the series, and San Jose's won the last 2. They've looked, they haven't outplayed Vegas, but they've looked like a much better team than they did in the first 3 of the first 4 games. So it's like, oh, okay, now do the Sharks have all the momentum? Are they rolling? Now they're back at home. So you can make that argument, but then you could be like, well, Vegas has the better goalie. They've have faster tempo. They're more disciplined. They went all the way to the Cup Finals last year. They beat San Jose last year. So there's really, in order to try and pick a side in one of these games, you really end up just being like, well, I'm a fan of this team, or I like an aspect of this part of their game, and that's why I'm going with it. You really can make arguments for both sides in every series in a Game 7. So, and the reason is they've both won 3 games, so you've seen the best and the worst from both of them, and you know what I mean. So it's not something where you say I feel very strongly like this team is much better.
So basically, from a spectator's point of view, it's a fantastic position to be in. But from a betting stance, does it make it hard? Do you have any? Then obviously we've got the 3 games happening Wednesday, Thursday. There, do you have any sort of any tips right now?
Yeah. So with the Sharks, they opened at Pinnacle at a pick'em line 1.95 each way. That dropped down to about 1.9, 1.88 today as I looked most recently. I think the situation with the Sharks is I would lean their way, but you have to remember I also took them to win the series. That was based on sports model projections, and that was also based on if they played disciplined hockey, if they played well defensively, if Martin Jones, their goaltender, didn't look like he did for most of the season, then they would take the series. And we've kind of seen that in the last couple games, so I am leaning that way. Also, home ice is still an advantage, even though it's not enough an advantage that it should sway you to bet on a team alone. So I've already got the Sharks on the series money line, so there's no reason for me to add anything else. All I'm doing is doubling up potential profits or losses. There's no added advantage to take them again now. That said, I was talking to a buddy on Twitter yesterday, and he was asking about hedging on the Bruins and taking the Leafs. And my point was, well, if the Bruins get out to a 2-goal lead, you can look to take the Leafs +1.5, +2.5 if it's a good price. then you're guaranteeing that if any late game shenanigans go on, if there's a comeback, an OT, a late goal, you're covered. That way you can hedge for both to get an actual profit almost no matter what, and you won't come out with a loss. I think that's an ideal situation.
Yeah.
So I would lean Sharks. I would lean under Game 7s. They can be high scoring if one team just comes out flat. But I would still go under a total. I think the total was 6. It was 6, shaded at 1.9 on the under. So I would take the under because teams know you don't want to give up that first goal. You don't want to have a 2-1 deficit at the end of the first period, that sort of thing. So that's for that game.
Okay, that's all right. That's for that game. Anything else that you like here? Because obviously Washington Capitals, quite big favourites really against the Hurricanes. Anything else that you like there?
Yeah, I think that price is justified. Each team has won all the home games. They went 2-0, 2-2, 3-2, 3-3. So I think the Capital. I said to somebody else yesterday, if this was last year's Washington Capitals, I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped it. I do think that they will just be well prepared, focused, and they can. I think they can run over Carolina. I mean, last night Carolina beat them 5-2. That's very dominant. But for most of the first half of the game, it looked like, Washington, even though they were on their back foot, they were very dangerous every time they went into Carolina's zone. And this is the defending Stanley Cup champions. So if I would lean Washington or pass there. I would also lean on the over 5.5 actually for that one. But what I usually like to do is if I am taking it over in the playoffs, wait maybe 10 minutes into the game and catch it live. You can usually get about 4.5. So a 2-2 score is more than likely in this game. So that my play would be an over 4.5 or over 5 if you can get it live. And then in the final best of 7, Boston Maple Leafs. Again, I'm already on Boston money line. I took them when they went down 3-2 on that one. So there's no reason to get involved. The best price that I saw was at Pinnacle at 1.7. Now, again, here, with these two teams, when Boston plays its best game and Toronto plays its best game, I think Boston wins this way more often than Toronto. In the games that Toronto won in this series, you sort of felt like Boston played badly, whereas in the games that Boston won, and I mean, these are just sort of subjective opinions of mine. It's not like you can judge a price on this. But in the games that Boston lost, Toronto lost, it was Boston outplayed them heavily in all areas of the ice. Boston shut down their best players. And that's what's happened. In the first 3 games, Mitch Marner had, I think it was 4 points, or I don't have the stat in front of me, but he looked great. He looked like he was worth a $9 million contract. And in the last 3 games, he's had 0 points, I think, and maybe 1 shot. So I'm leaning on all the home teams, the favorites here, the teams that I'm on. But of course, that's why I went into the series with my money on these teams in the first place, is because I thought if it went to a Game 7, this is the team that should come out. So I don't want to be biased in saying that the away teams don't have a shot here, because they certainly do. And a Game 7 is almost a coin flip. So the value play is going to kind of always go with the away team.
Okay, interesting stuff. Ergo Critic says Stone to score first at 10.
Ooh. Stone, I am so glad he went to Vegas. He, because I remember watching him in Ottawa for I don't know how long he was there for or whatever, but he is one of those players. He has the highest turnover rate in the league, steals, which is kind of a weird stat for hockey. It kind of goes unnoticed. But when you think about it, it's really consequential, especially when you're a forward who can turn it over, on a defenseman who might be the last man back, or during a change. He creates a lot of his own opportunities for his line, and it also adds to his plus minus. So I do like Stone to score. Score first, I'm not sure. I mean, I bet score even to get a goal is probably about 3.5, 4. I haven't looked. I don't play a lot of player props. I know some people that do, but I imagine even just him getting a goal would be a pretty nice price. So if Ergo has that prop in mind, maybe you can
Coyle to
post it.
score
But
at 6 is another one.
score at any time. Sorry,
I'm going to guess so. Yeah, Coyle to score at 6, odds of 6.
Charlie Coyle, or who's he talking about? Anyways, I like the anytime because the first goal isn't necessarily like, what if the second power play line is out there? There's no reason to, I mean, take just for a player to score in a game 7 is already pretty nice. So yeah, I don't mind the Stone one. He is leading the NHL playoffs right now in points. I think he has 10. Maybe you can correct me on that. I think it's 10 points, which it was only been 6 games. That's pretty. And he's got a great line. It's sad to see either Vegas or San Jose go home here because really they both could be good enough to make it all the way to the Cup finals.
Yeah. Ergo Cortistic says Adams pure gold.
I appreciate that. I'm going to be up watching these Game 7s tonight. I took a nap this afternoon. So if you want to hit me on Twitter, talk about the game. Yeah, even though I think they're starting at 12:30 my time, but it's the best time of year to be a hockey fan. So even over in the UK, you have to make time for it.
Yeah, you sure do. Listen, it seems to be because I was talking with Ed Hawkins at the beginning of the video, and their games are like 5 hours long, and he's watching them all. Yeah, that's dedication. Ergo Cortistic says, yes, Charlie Coyle for Boston. He's due to score one. And that was odds of 6.
Yeah, so Coyle was a pretty instrumental player for Minnesota. He has been a bit under the radar. I agree completely. He is due. I agree with that too. I think, you don't really want to take one of Boston has one of the best lines in the league, but they've been sort of splitting them up a little bit. Taking Pasternak or Marchand to score is sort of what everyone's expecting. I still like that because those players are big game players. We've seen them show up in the past in Game 7s. So, just go through the old stats between the Game 7 of the Leafs Bruins, I think it was 2013, and last year. And the Bergeron line, they show up and they play good in their own zone. So I still think there'll be 20-minute-a-night guys in Game 7. I do agree Charlie Coyle's due. I'm not sure if it's Game 7, but sometimes we see the unsung heroes of the league show up to score the big goals in these games.
All right. There we go. That was Adam Booth. Lock E QWERTY, like the keyboard.
I was going to say one more thing. Okay. Obviously the series will be ending on Wednesday night, and then I'll be doing the round 2 articles Wednesday night, and they'll be out Thursday.
Yes, and we have a dedicated hockey page. And right now, because oddsmarket.com is a work in progress, we are right now working on a tab that basically drops down. Hey. So right now, if you want to get to the hockey page, the only way you can do it is going tips/hockey. Other than that, it's all just sitting. So right now, we're working on these. These things take a lot of time. So yes, please. But if you do actually go onto if you go onto the actual odds of hockey along the side panel there, is a list as well of the articles written by Adam. So there we go. Adam Booth, Lock E QWERTY, and great speaking with you, Adam. Enjoy the games tonight and some big ones. So yeah, very exciting stuff. Take care.
Yes.
All right. Best
Have
of
a nice day, Nat.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, and that wraps up the end of the show. 4 segments. I hope you guys were able to extract some information of that. These are the tips that are tips as they specialize in their sports there. So hopefully that will help you guys out. Tomorrow, we will be back over at Sportsbook Review, and we will be doing the Premier League rundown with Flash and myself, and that is at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then, no, it's at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Best Bet Show as well, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. And then Sports Bet Daily will be back on Odds Market at 2:30 p.m. Friday, actually, we have a ton of sports being aired. So hopefully you guys catch it all. And if you do miss it, they are on replay, and they are also posted as the clips over at oddsmarket.com as well. So there we go. Best of luck, everybody. Remember, bet responsibly and bet with what you can afford to lose. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.